If you're interested in learning to trade on Betfair, then visit the BetAngel Academy, where you have detailed structured Betfair trading courses. Or why not visit our website where you can download a free trial of BetAngel Professional, but also visit the forum where you can get detailed images, examples and downloadable files. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon if you want notification of new videos as they're released. So if you want to automate your betting or trading with BetAngel, it's really simple. We actually have a dedicated tool that will allow you to do that. And that dedicated tool is called Guardian. Guardian does many things. It's a separate program all on its own, and it sits just underneath this G icon. But before we dive into it, it's to say that it's really actually quite simple to do what you need. When you first do it, you'll need to understand the way that it's done, but we've done it via drop-down menus. We do it via a logical sequence of events, and once you get used to it, it's actually quite simple to do. So without further ado, let's press that G icon and have a look at Guardian and describe exactly what it does. So when you first look at Guardian, there isn't much there, and that is because think of it as a sort of a desktop or workspace for you to actually do your work in. And you need to populate this workspace with markets that you're interested in working on. At the top of Guardian, you can see here it says Markets, Excel, Automation, Watch and Advanced Settings. We'll talk through a couple of these, but we're going to focus mainly on the automation area of Guardian. The interesting thing to note about Guardian is it's a tool that sits in the background. So you can actually close Guardian down and still work on your main screen, and Guardian will work magically for you in the background. It's a completely independent piece of software from BetAngel and will work away doing stuff even if you're working on something else. It's very, very clever. So as I said, this is a canvas and we need to paint our canvas with some markets. So on the left hand pane here, this allows you to import markets. So we can actually click on here and we can sort of say, well, let's put this market in, let's scroll up a bit. Let's put this market in over here, and we can drag and drop that, and then the market appears over in Guardian. But of course we've only got one market in there. What I'm going to do is highlight that, remove that selected market, and away it goes. So this is the market tree over here, and it's called a tree because basically as you go down at different levels you can see that we have a look at this, and there are markets within markets and then markets within markets that are within markets, and that's why you get that effect of branching basically. Now you can actually use filters. There's a separate video on filters if you want to learn how to make your own filter, but this will allow you to find markets very quickly and easy as well. So you can actually bring up markets very, very quickly. Or if we go to the bottom here, you can actually search for individual markets by typing in what you're searching for, and again filters are available from within here. And we do have other sections such as the coupon, which is a separate video altogether again, something that's dedicated specifically for football matches. But what we're going to do is have a look at the racing markets, simply because it's quick and simple, and there are plenty of racing markets on the card every day, and it's a great ground to sort of test your automation or anything that you're planning to do. So you can see we've got UK and Irish racing ticked, and if we click on add, that will actually add them all into Guardian. If you have a search list of markets, so if we go into here and say cricket markets, what you can actually do is you can actually highlight individual markets, and then you can drag and drop them into Guardian. Now on this occasion we're only going to be looking at the racing, but I just wanted to highlight to you here that anything that you see over here can be dragged and dropped over onto this side of Guardian. But once you have highlighted the markets that you're interested in, then you can actually start working on those individual markets. So you can see here there's an old market. This market has been closed and is no longer active, and you can see that it says suspended, and that's because there is no market there. So we can remove that selected market if we want to, or we can remove suspended markets that we're not interested in. Also you can see we've got tomorrow's markets in there, and there's pretty much no volume within that particular set of markets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight those, and then I'm going to do remove selected markets again, and you'll get a little dialog box that pops up, and then we can actually remove those markets. So this is the canvas that we are going to paint on effectively, and you can see that these are all of the markets that are left in today's racing, and I'll describe a few other things for you here as well. So these are the matched and unmatched bets that you have in the market. So if you're running automation, you can actually have automation running in the background. You can fire up Guardian and just see how it's doing, how many bets are matched or unmatched within the market. We'll have a look at those as we learn more about automation. And this is the volume in each market. So on racing, the race that's about to start tends to have the highest volume, and then that decreases as we go towards the back end of the card. Here you can see the last update column. This is an important bit that we're going to be talking about here. Can you see how it's ticking through each one of these selections? So you can see here that, can you see how it's ticking away on each one of these selections? 58, 59, 01, 02, 04, 05, and then it goes back to the top and it's cycling through the market. So this is what we define as cycling. So what you have to do within the markets that you're active and in automation is you need to get BetAngel to look at them so it can understand what you want it to do. So this is what we call cycling. Basically, the markets will update. At the moment we've got it set to 1 second. The refresh interval is set to 1 second, so it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's taking 13 seconds to go from the top market to the bottom, and then it loops and cycles back up again. So to put this in context, if we have automation running on the 8 o'clock race, it will reach that every 10 seconds or so. And maybe the automation that you've got, you need it to jump on something instantly. Well, that's no problem, because you can speed up the rate at which this refreshes. So if I drag this right to the top there, you can see that we can actually do this at 20 milliseconds. So previously we had it going 1, 2, 3, every, updating every second. If I do 20 milliseconds, I'm not even going to try and count. So what you'll see is it updates pretty much instantly. You can see there's a slight delay between the top and the bottom market, but can you see each one of those is updating automatically. So what we're saying to BetAngel is have a look at this market at this refresh interval. If you set it at 20 milliseconds, it can look at 50 markets a second. So it's up to you, depending upon what strategy you're doing and how you want it to behave, as to what you want that refresh interval. I'm just going to set it for 1 second at this moment in time. So yeah, this displays a number of different features which we'll come on to in a minute, but you can actually see here that the ones that we're most interested in are the automation rules. You can see that as we hover our mouse over the automation rules, it comes up with a little drop down box, and if we click on that drop down box, you can see that that's empty, and that is because we have not created any automation rules to apply to this particular market. And you can also see the automation nominated selection. That's something that we'll come on to as well, because you can select within the market something that you want the automation to apply to. So because we're looking at horse racing, if I click on that, these are all of the horses within the race. So you can actually make automation very granular. You can basically say, I want you to run this rule on this runner. I want you to run this rule on that runner. I want you to do this, I want you to do that. I want a different rule in this market, a different rule in that market. You can get down to quite a deep level when you start working with automation at this particular way. But basically, when we arrive on Guardian, what we want to do is populate Guardian with the markets that we're interested in automating. We need to set the refresh interval at something that's appropriate for the market in which we're operating in, and then we can actually start to write some automation. Now, because racing goes one race after another, you can also get BetAngel to switch automatically between markets. So if you want it to refresh really quickly and get displayed in your main BetAngel interface, if you select the automatically switch market function, then basically that will switch into the market at a time appropriate to. So if we set that to 60 and tick that, then 60 seconds before the start of the race, you just saw it do it there, it will flick straight and put that into the main market within BetAngel. You may not want to do that. You may find that you want to trade something on your own on the main interface while the automation works in the background for you on the same market or on a different market. But basically, if you have the automatically switch, that's what it will do for you. It will jump to that market and put it into the main interface. But in order to use automation, you don't need to do that. You can actually just let automation run in the background completely, but make sure that you set the refresh interval correctly if you want it to do that. So you can see this race has just started, so Guardian is displaying that it's in play. It shows you that it went in play at 17:45 and 17 seconds. And when it suspends, you will see the suspension notice come up as well. But anyway, that's the first stage, is bring markets into Guardian, and then you can start writing some automation. So once you've brought the markets into BetAngel, then we can start working on doing some automation. So I'm going to describe to you now how to create your first file, but what we're going to do is we're going to do a walkthrough from each of the individual components within the automation tool, so you can understand what each of them does. So if I pick on a market, I'm going to pick on one a little bit later here. You highlight the market within BetAngel, then you go to automation, and then you can see you've brought up a range of different things here. We won't discuss these at the moment because they're not important, but if you go on to the BetAngel forum, you can actually import example files, and that's a great way. We've got hundreds in there. It's a great way of, say you want to lay the draw, back a steamer, do any sort of strategy, we've probably templated it for you, and the idea is you can import that into BetAngel and then play around with those settings and create your own automation off of that. Basically, we've done all the hard work for you. You don't have to do all the donkey work. We've done it for you. So if you want to import a rules file, you would do that from here. However, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new rules file for the selected market. So we're saying we've selected Ripon at 7:30, and if we click on that option there, then we will create a rules file for that particular market. Now, what's actually happened, it may not happen on your screen the same way as it does mine, it's opened up the dialog box on a different screen. So I'm going to pull that down so you can see it on the screen, but probably what will happen for you is it will appear on the screen immediately in front of you. But let me just pull that down for you so you can see what BetAngel has done for us. So this is the automation rules editor, so it's worth me describing how this works and what each one of these components is, so that you can fully understand it before we even attempt to do anything. So I'll describe it from top to bottom so you can get a handle on some of these things. This area here is when you've created rules files, they will appear in this drop down menu from here. Now, because we've created nothing, there's nothing there. You can save or do a save as here, or delete the individual file, and these are options to nest or to create additional rules within the file that you're doing. We'll show you this in a second. This area here is your canvas for the automation rules. So in this area here you will put all of your rules, and you can actually put one rule here, another. So you can actually create incredibly complicated and complex automation, or you can make it as simple as you like. But basically, the more rules you put in here, the more interesting and clever things you can get BetAngel to do. So yeah, this is the canvas where you will instruct BetAngel what you will do, and once we have created an individual rule, it will be in here, and then BetAngel will follow that rule, and then you would save that particular file and call it something so that you can bring it back in to the drop down menu, which will appear here, it will appear here, and it will appear within Guardian. At the bottom here, this is where you use the drop down menus to construct and tell BetAngel exactly what you want it to do. So the first tab on the left here is the general area, and when you use the general area you have a number of options available to you. So you can see you have a rule type. What is a rule type? Well, let's click on the drop down menu and you can see what it is. So the rule type defines what this particular rule is going to do. What is the automation going to do for you on this occasion? So you can see it can place a back bet, a lay bet, it can back all the selections, lay them all, it can close a trade, it can close it and hedge that position by using greening, it can cancel unmatched bets, you can hedge all of the selections within the market, it can do a green all, it can keep all your bets, it can take them all to SP, export a profit and loss report, it can play a sound alert or show a message, it can fix the order of market selections, unfix them, switch to that market, check point match bets, modify a signal, clear signals. You can see it can do a lot of things. Some of these you're thinking, whoa, what is that? Such as the ones down towards the bottom here, but they will be covered as we look at different videos, or you instruct yourself to do cleverer things. But we're not going to go near those at the moment. We're going to keep it quite simple for you, so that you can start using these immediately. So let's select place a back bet, and this will give you and show up other options for us as we move through the menus at the top here. Now, events in sports are time-based, so it will be after the event has turned in play, it will be before the event turns in play. Something will happen in those two time periods. So this rule trigger times basically defines the period in which this automation is active. So the rule type defines what is the automation going to do. The trigger times tell you when is it going to do it. So we can see here we could have it always armed. It's just permanently trying to do what you're going to instruct it to do. You could fix the date and time at some point if you wish to, or you can make it relative to when the event is going to start. So if a football match is starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can say to it 1 hour before the match starts, do the following. Or you can say to it when it turns in play after 5 minutes, do the following. Or if you want to get a little bit more in depth into automation, you can say when this rule has triggered and performed this action, then this rule is going to follow it. So if we're going to place a back bet here, we can say to it basically place a back bet 10 minutes before the event starts, and this period, this window where the automation is going to be active is going to be between 10 minutes to 0 minutes. So you can see it's going to be active for 10 minutes on this particular market. Then we can basically say to it, and I want this to trigger once, so 1 times here it says, and then if we wanted to do it 10 times, it could basically say do this event 10 times and wait 5 seconds before it tries to do it again. And you can get it to apply to a particular selection. So it could be a horse within this particular race, it could be by Betfair order, so it could be the horse that row number 1, it could be but the favorite within this race, or you could nominate a selection on Guardian. So you design a generic rule and then you use the nominated selection to decide where you want to position that. Or you could do this on any particular selection. So yeah, the first screen that you see here defines what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, and if necessary, what you're going to do it on. So when you've decided that, what you need to do is then move on to give this position some characteristics. So you can see we've got these additional tabs up here, and these are designed to make the bet conditional on something. But first of all, actually, we've said place a bet, we haven't said how much. So let's have a look at the parameters that we're going to apply to it. So the general tab sets up, it's basically saying place a back bet for over 10 minutes in this sort of manner, and this is basically going to say on the parameters how you're going to do it. You could do it by a fixed price, you could say at odds of 3, or you could take the best market price that's available at that moment in time, or you can see you've got many other variations here. It could be the second market price, the third, above, below, a custom percent above, below. You could take the cue from a servant, which you'll need to read about in or watch in other videos, or you could do it from a stored price. You could actually get BetAngel to define a price for you somehow, and you put that price into here. But basically, place a bet, place an opening trade at a particular price. This is what you're saying, and these are all of the variations that you can get. There are significant numbers of them, but again, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to say place a bet at the best price. Then you also need to define what the stake will be, because obviously if you're opening a trade or you're placing a bet, you need to know what stake you're going to use. So we could do a fixed amount, which is what we've got selected here, or you can see that there are options here depending upon how you want to place your bet. So it could be by liability, a book percentage, a percentage of a balance. You could take it from a servant, you could take it from a stored value. It could be anything, but again, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to say place a trade for £10. Now if you've seen the global settings, you'll know what this section is all about, but if you haven't seen the global settings, then I suggest you go off and do some research, because this is a way of getting the position that you put into the market to inherit some generic characteristics. So we're going to do something simple again here. I'm not going to explain each of these settings because that will be for a separate video, but we're going to basically say place an offset bet 1 tick above its current price. That is all that we're going to do. We're going to do nothing more complicated than that. So an offset bet, if you're not familiar with it, is you will trigger a price into the market, and BetAngel will offset that bet into a profitable position as an unmatched bet in the market. You'll see it happen when we run this particular rule. Once we've decided what we're actually going to do and how we're actually going to do it, we can apply some conditions to it. And what are conditions? Let's have a look. So you can see the conditions canvas here is blank, but we can actually say to it, place this bet conditional on the following criteria. So if I click on new, you'll see here that it comes up with a condition type, and this or these are all of the conditions that you can place. So you're saying place a back bet for this amount in this manner, subject to the following. And these are all of the conditions that you can apply to it. So we'll take the top one, for example. We could say only place this bet if the in-play condition, the market is not in play. So we're saying place this bet as long as the market's not in play. And then you can see it comes up in this box over here. But you can add more than one if you want to. You can apply a whole range of conditions to that one individual characteristic that you have within the market. So we're saying place a bet if the market is not in play, and some other condition in here as well. So you can see the fixed odds condition would be saying that the price is above a certain value. The relative odds condition would say it's, well, let's have a quick look. You can see the selection's back price is greater than the lay price of something else. You can see that's a relative odds condition. But we could do a historic odds condition, which is basically, this is pre-populated from when I was messing around a bit earlier. You can see it's saying place this bet if the current price, the back price 60 seconds ago, is greater than something else. So you can actually see that you can make it conditional upon many different things, whether something's in play, whether it's related to a certain price, whether the price 30 seconds ago, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 was different from what it is now. There's a whole gamut of things that you can do and apply conditions to, and you can nest them. You can put them. These are all and. So it's saying place this bet if the market is not in play and the back price is greater than 60 seconds ago and greater than 2 and. So you can add in multiple conditions underneath there. If I just go mad in here, we're saying the number of unmatched bets on the market is equal to 0. We'll basically say, and then you could see we could put another one in and stuff like that. So I'm going to delete, we're going to keep this one in here, but I'm going to delete the one that's slightly above it. So if I delete that, you'll see that what we're saying now is place this position in the market if the market is not in play and the number of unmatched bets on the market is equal to 0. So what we're basically saying here is place a position in the market, but only when there's nothing in the market. So if I just wind you back a little bit to the general tab, you can see we said trigger 10 times and wait 5 seconds between arming. What this is doing is it's saying and only do this if the market's not in play and there are no unmatched bets in the market. So this stops duplication of bets effectively. So yeah, there are a ton of conditions on here, and they're very clever in terms of what they can do and how you can mix and match it. But you'll also see at the bottom we have the signal set and signal value condition and the stored value condition. Basically, signals are ways of sending up flags in the market. So it's basically saying I've done the following, set a signal to indicate that I've done the following, and then automation somewhere further down the list can basically say, okay, I'm aware that you've done something in there, I will take that into account. A signal is basically a flag to say, hello, I've done this, and you can use that to influence the outcome of what you're doing within the rest of the automation. Slightly more advanced subject, we'll leave it for the moment. Stored values also allow you to create values that can be shared between automation. So say you've got something in the win market, something in the place market can know what you're doing in the win market. You would create a stored value and pass that value between the two bits of automation. Or say you've got something in the match odds market and you've got something in the over and under market in a football match. Again, it can talk to each other. So different bits of automation can talk to each other even if they're on different markets in Guardian doing different things. A stored value will allow you to share information between two different sets of automation. Again, slightly more complex and needs a separate video. But you can see here you can set a stored value and you can decide how you want the stored value to be stored and what you want it to be called, and if you want it to be rounded, adjusted, added, all of these sort of weird and wonderful things. But yeah, signals set up a flag, stored values allow you to pass values between different bits of automation, different markets doing different things. These two things massively increase the flexibility of automation. Not going to talk about them now, but we just want to do some simple stuff to get you started. So yeah, let's review what we've done. going to place a back bet in the 10 minutes before the start of a race. We can place that bet 10 times and we have to wait 5 seconds before rearming it. We're going to place it at the best market price for a fixed amount, £10. We're going to offset it by 1 tick. That will only trigger when the market's not in play and the number of unmatched bets in the market is equal to 0. So we've created effectively our first little bit of automation. So that's what that particular command is going to do. If we apply it, you will see that that appears underneath the rule. So that's the first part of this particular rule. So the idea, you've seen how you can layer instructions within the automation. What you can actually do is layer them within the rules container as well. So we could have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 different bits of automation in here. It can get, really deep into the things that you want to do, and the Bet Engine will look at this file and run through each one of these whenever you nominate this rule to run. So I'm going to save this particular rule so that we've got it available to us, and this will be my first automation. And if I OK that, you can see it appears in the drop down menu, and if we apply that, that will be saved. And then if we go into the actual market itself, then you can see it's now available for us to put within that particular market. So whichever market we go into, you can actually see that that is available to us. And that means that we can apply that automation to any of these markets that are coming up if we so wish to do so. But before we do that, we're going to amend it slightly and do a couple of other little things before we set it loose in the market. So now we've created that rules file, that there is a slight problem with it, and that is that there was no closing position in it. So if we ran it on one of these markets, it would place those positions in the market, but it wouldn't hedge those positions. So if we we go to our drop down menu here, because we've just created this file, and then we click on Edit Rules File, it will bring up that dialog box again, and then we can add in another part to our automation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new rule to this file, and this is going to be a really simple one, which is hedge all my positions. And then if I click on this and we are looking for green all selections, we need to define a moment at which this happens. So I'm going to say basically 5 seconds, we don't want it an hour, 5 seconds after the event starts time, so just after it's due to have started, because we're doing a horse race. Horse races never go off on time. I mean, you could modify this to make it a bit tighter, or to hedge it, or to finish the automation that was before it. You can see here it goes from 10 minutes to 0. Maybe go from 10 minutes to 10 seconds before the start time. In fact, let's do it. Why don't we do that? So if I go in and amend this, what I need to actually do here is I'll just apply this, and I'll go in and amend this. So we're going to say from 10 minutes out to 10 seconds before start time. Then I'm going to amend this to 10 seconds 10 seconds before start time to 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say green all positions 2 times every 5 seconds. So what we're going to say here is this first rule runs to open a position between 10 minutes and 10 seconds before the start, and then this will basically run, I need to apply that, from 10 seconds before the start to 0. So we've got no chance of this going in play basically, but it will hedge in those final 10 seconds our overall position. So you can see we've layered the rule here. This is the opening position, this creates the position in the market for us, and this hedges the position. But there's no reason why you couldn't have 400,000 of them, maybe slightly, not that many, but lots of rules here that will allow you to do quite clever things and interact with each other and so on. But basically, can you see the concept here? This is the position that we're opening, and this is us hedging that particular position. So we're going to save that, and that position is ready to apply to a market. So really the next thing that we should do is actually put this in motion on a market so you can actually see what happens. So yeah, we'll wait for the next race to come along, we'll apply it to the market, and then we'll have a look at how this performs. So let's put this rule to use in a market. I I've been a little bit late arriving back at this market. I got distracted actually, so I apologise for that. So we're not far from the off now. We're certainly within inside that last 10 minutes. And to apply this rule to the market, all that I need to do is go to the automation rules and select it from the drop-down menu. So we put that into the market, and then that will be active and working. You can see here it's already placed a bet. It's got that bet through the market. If we select the market and I just pull this up from here, you can actually see it logging all of the information about what's going on, what it's actually doing within that particular market, and you can see the number of matched bets that we've got, the unmatched bets, but we can also monitor what's going on within the market from within Guardian. So can you see I'm not actually doing anything here, and it's pinging away, doing all of the work for me. I'm not even looking at the market. I can actually shut down Guardian, and it will do this for me in the background while I'm actively trading any other market. Or if I want to, I can double click on this. It will bring the market up for me, and then we can actually see it's doing all of this activity for us dynamically. So you can actually use the automation to be active and in the market. You can supplement it with something that you're doing, but can you see it's traded that automatically for us? We only had a few minutes for it to actively work, but you can see it's gone into the market, it's traded it for us, and we've got a pound profit regardless of who goes on to win this particular race. We didn't have to do anything. We wrote that simple rule. You can see it was active within the Guardian tool, and you can see that even before we turned to that market, it was busy firing away orders for us. So imagine you could be trading a completely different sport and it would still be doing that in the background, or you could actually be active and watching that market, and the automation could be triggering it for you while you keep an eye on it. But typically, obviously, the automation is designed to run completely autonomously, but there's no reason why you couldn't use it to supplement your existing trading if you wanted it to get you in or out of a position when you're actively trading as well. But you can see it was a really simple rule. We didn't do anything particularly complicated. We set it up, we applied it to this market, and you can see in just the short amount of time they're on the market, about 2 minutes or so, it made us a pound profit. And the race is about to start now, so we should see it come up as suspended. There you go. I can just see them bolting out of the stalls here. But our work is done here. We can just move on to the next market and go from there. So if we wanted to, we could apply that automation rule to another market in the future. Or if we look up here, you can see it says here, apply rules to all markets. And if I click on that, you can see it applies that rule to every single market. So every market that's racing in front of us, basically 10 minutes out, it will start performing this same action, and repeating the same process, and then hedging the position just before the race gets underway. But you can see, we talked through that in great depth in terms of the way that we created the automation. It's quite a simple process, but you can see it's also incredibly effective.